Welcome to Freelance Sucks. Here we discuss the dark side of freelancing about which nobody usually talks out loud. In this show, we speak with experienced freelancers, and I'm sure listening to their stories helps you prepare for freelancers' challenges. My name is Yuri. I'm a community builder at 9am.works, the tool that helps independent professionals find the best deals on the market and convert more. And my guest is Candice Grobler, a fractional community director who struggled to fit into an employee mold that never felt natural. So she started her freelance business and founded Candid Collab to help stretched brands build community systems around their products and services. So welcome, Candice.
Hi, Yuri. Thanks so much for having me. I am excited and slightly nervous about this conversation.
Yeah, it's like talking about the challenges. It's like never the easiest part. So let's start with the easiest question. For you, what is the most challenging part of being a freelancer?
I think the admin is the most challenging part, and it's also the hardest part to anticipate. Like keeping up with emails on like a never-ending chain of emails. Being able to invoice people and also people who I'm working with, subcontractors, get invoices. That part for me is honestly the biggest headache, and it's also really hard to always like to hand that over to somebody at a affordable rates. So that's been the most painful.
How do you deal with your admin? Like how is your process looks right now?
At the moment, I'm trying to automate as much of it as possible. So I have an app script in Google Sheets that basically pulls in all of my emails in the morning, and it with AI classifies them for me, so I know which ones are urgent, which ones are client, which ones are like like stuff I can ignore for like weeks on end, which is great. So that's one thing I've implemented, which makes my life so much easier from like in emails perspective. I'm also busy trying to automate my payments process at the moment. It's a little bit more complicated. You also don't want AI and APIs touching your money and stuff. So I have to, it's a little bit more complicated, but I'm basically using Zapier and AI to pull out certain information. The part I've already automated is the outreach. So whenever someone from Circle reaches out to me, to help with their community, I get a very specific email. So basically my Zap reads that email, pulls out the important parts, and writes my outreach email for me. So all I have to do is read it and press send. So I'm trying to automate as much of it as possible with Zaps and some free app scripts because that's more affordable.
I feel like Zapier is your go-to tool. Are there any other tools that you are using?
Oh, Notion. Notion is like, I just became a Notion ambassador actually, but
Hey.
I've been using Notion since university. It's like a decade
Wow.
now.
Wow.
It is my favorite tool for absolutely anything. Like I can build you an app in a day in Notion, and it makes me feel so powerful, and it also integrates with everything. So Notion is 100% my go-to. And if I had to brag about another one, it would be Beehive. Beehive is beautiful. From like, I hated emails as a marketer or past like a marketer. I hated emails, but Beehive convinced me that email marketing isn't dead and that it actually can be a way to gain leads rather than just make them go into a hole to die, like I used to think.
Are you using paid versions of all those tools?
Yes. Because I use Notion for so long, I'm actually on a grandfathered plan, but I also use I have the AI upgrade for it as well, which makes it way more affordable. Affordable from a workflow perspective, because I don't actually have to pay for as much Zaps, for example, or I don't have to integrate with ChatGPT, so I don't have to pay for that API. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's interesting, like you named Zapier, you named Notion, and one more tool that I lost.
Beehive.
Beehive, yeah, because the funny thing is that I use it too. I don't use a paid version of Beehive before that. I'm just like doing for hosting my newsletter inside and just kind of like getting to know each other. So we are in a dating phase, and I'm still interested like to try it more, but we'll see. Okay, so how do you know what to automate?
Oh, I love this question. Interesting. Okay, so things that are, I actually have a diagram I can send you for this. Things that are prime for automation are things that you don't yourself have to do, right? So those things are things that are not necessarily important or critical. They're just things that just need to get done and pushed along the way, you know? So for example, you have calls and you have an email, a transcriber or a note taker who sends you messages. Like, what do you do with that? Like, you're not going to go sit and read that. So may as well hook that up to AI and get AI to message you and tell you, hey, this is what happened in your call. These are your next steps, you know? So I try to find things that are easy and simple, especially if you're new to automation. Like, find just a very simple thing. Like, if you want to, for example, like that example with the note taker, as a freelancer, that's actually my next step. I'm going to pull my notes in and have AI write my first version of my proposal for me. Obviously, I'm going to have to check that, but you know how much time that takes away from me from having to think like, oh, this is a new client. How does this fit into my pricing structures? So yeah, things that you need to do often and things that you don't necessarily have to move along yourself.
Yeah, I can imagine that because it's always like meeting a new person, even though you are like doing for years what you are doing. It's like, oh, how to connect them with what I'm doing, like how to ensure that they get the most value, etc. But you don't really have to think about this. And the crucial point that you mentioned that you are checking it afterwards, I feel like it's something that people are missing. Like, okay, not everyone, but some people are missing when they are dealing with AI tools, that they think that it will automate everything. But no, you have still to think. Sorry, but you still have to use your brain.
100, and I mean, you can also you can always like the one thing I do for with my Beehive. As soon as something posts through Beehive, Slack, I automatically get a message in Slack that says, "Hey, this is a message we want to send with your article on LinkedIn through my company account." And then I get to read the message and I can approve it or reject it. And if I approve it, it automatically posts. So that it's something, and I mean, some things you can share like that. I would never do that with my personal account, but with my company account, I share blogs like that, you know? So you just have to think about like who is reading this and how do you want it to affect that brand, because like I would say, I wouldn't automate a post from my personal brand because I'm not a bot, you know. My company is an entity. I think differently about my company.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. I have two different companies on LinkedIn, and I feel like that's something that I really need to automate. So thank you very much for this idea. So what is the most time-consuming thing you must do with as a freelancer, except for work you are doing professionally itself?
Marketing. And content creation for marketing. I'm not particularly like, look, okay, I grew up, I want to say, I was hatched in a content bubble, so I should be a good content creator. And it does come very naturally to me when I'm creating content for other people. In an interview like this, I'm very comfortable, but if you put me in front of a camera normally, I'm like, I don't know how to behave. So content creation takes a lot of time from me. And then also because I believe that good content has to be edited and checked and you can't just put a first draft out there, I really respect what it takes to make good content. And that's why I think it takes me so long, is because I don't want to put out there something that I wouldn't want to watch or that I want to affect my brand badly, you know?
No, it's interesting. I had a conversation with Bailey Hancock. She's like professional friend maker on LinkedIn, and she has a guide on how to become a guest on a podcast. And you know, when you told that you are feeling comfortable in this conversation, I had this idea that you have to prepare your pitch for podcast and pitch to as many podcasts as possible, and then go to a conversation and let people create content for you. That's how it works. And then you have the transcript, then you put it into AI, and then you have like months of content.
100. Well, that's actually why I've started my own podcast recently. I do like a live recording and then like as an event, and then posted afterwards for like a month in my community and everywhere. It's just, yeah, smart.
Okay, marketing done, checked. So what is the most nerve-wracking thing you must deal with as a freelancer?
Problematic clients. I've had a few clients, especially recently, who disagreed with my professional perspective or evaluation on something. You know, for example, I did an audit and found that this company, they had a massive community of 30,000 people, but it was failing because they had zero strategy. They didn't even know what their audience was. And so I said to them, you need to do some research. And they refused. They were like, no, just tell us how to fix it. And I was like, but you need to know your audience. And then like, how do you design a strategy? They're like, we don't want to do that. Just tell us what campaign to implement. And that is so hard. It is so hard when like people have paid you for a perspective and then they disagree with you, and to navigate that takes a lot of emotional regulation.
Do you ever fire clients?
Yes, I fired a client yesterday, actually, because things for me that are major red flags with clients is they will not take accountability for their role. You know, like if a client will not accept that they keep changing scope, or will not accept that their feedback isn't useful, or they will not accept that, you know, we need more information. If they can't take accountability for their role and they keep pushing it back onto me, no, it's my responsibility, that's not healthy. That's an abusive work relationship, in my opinion. So in that circumstance, I will fire a client. I will also fire a client if they treat any of my consultants badly who I work with. If they treat them, because I work with a lot of South Africans, often I'll work with Europeans who treat them really badly from a, you are dumber than me, or you aren't as valuable as me because you're from another, like a third world country. Wow. If I encounter that, I will fire a client, because that's discrimination. And just because we're in South Africa doesn't mean our quality is any worse, like at all.
Yeah.
So there've been a few instances where I really feel like morally a client has overstepped, and I will try and set these boundaries and talk to them, but I will have a very firm, like, we are not continuing. This is a handover. And it's a bit scary when that happens, because, you know, if they go and make a complaint publicly, you just have to have your receipts. You know, you just, what do you do?
Yeah. But, you know, when you are totally trust in what you are doing, and you believe in what you are doing, and like, I feel like it's not, it's scary, but after end of the day, you know, like the bad hope, the good hopefully defeats the evil, hopefully. Yes. So I totally get it.
Every time I have a bad client that ends badly, in the discovery call, I have a feeling. There's like a little gut feeling that I ignore. And I've gotten better at like fight and noticing that feeling of being like, oh, there's a red flag there, or oh, this is like not gonna go well. And I guess the more you freelance, the more you do it, the more you realize what that feeling is telling you, like, oh, this person doesn't respect you, or doesn't listen to boundaries, or and that's often very clear up front. But you know, it's just learning to trust that gut, like, and not doubt yourself, that gut feeling.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I had pretty same feelings, and usually I didn't go with those clients. Not because of me, because of them. At some point, they just like stopped the conversation. But when we had this call, I was like, yeah, I don't feel like we'll work together. And then at some point, they're like, yeah, we're busy or whatever. I'm like, yeah, okay, thank you. So bye. Yeah, and never see you again. And I feel like it's pretty much the same thing in when you are meeting other people. For example, you told that you love coffee chats. It's pretty much the same thing with coffee chats, because sometimes you can meet a person like you are, and when I met you, I'm like, yeah, let's do it, let's talk, let's do a podcast, and let's talk about everything. Yeah, you're such an amazing person. And it's totally different. Sometimes I'm having this feeling that I meet a person and like, we will never talk again. So it's like 5 more minutes and that's it. I don't
Yeah.
know how, but it works. And I feel like, yeah, exactly to your point, people, especially freelancers who really have to protect themselves a lot
Yeah.
because there is no manager, there is no company department that will do all the work for you. Like it's you and yourself only. So trust your gut feeling.
100% trusted, and then like back yourself to be brave if you have that, because I think that's really hard. Is like I ended up last year staying in a really unhealthy client relationship for way too long
Mm.
because I really wanted to work on that project. It was such a cool project. I really wanted to, and I think because of that it was like a little bit of a, okay, I'll sacrifice it for the project. But I now know that like I've just like my motto is never settle. I deserve to be treated with respect. I deserve, and in a work context especially, like I don't work in corporate for a reason. Like that doesn't work for me. Like I have PTSD. I need my space. I need to be able to, you know, like not control my environment, but control my reactions in my environment to, you know,
Yeah.
and so it's very important for me that when I'm working with the client, I don't feel it's like chained to that client if things go badly.
Yeah. As a freelancer, do you ever feel professional loneliness?
Yes, big time. I used to work before I actually became permanently freelance when during COVID. I was an
Mm.
event organizer at the time, and then COVID hit. There were no events, so I got retrenched. And it just, oh, the company I had before, the way the culture, it was such a great startup. Like there was breakfast, there were like lunches, there was team events, there was, oh, it was amazing. And I miss
Mm.
that. I miss that so much. Like I often wish like some of my clients have events and I'm like, couldn't you have just like invited me to just come say hello? Like I work with you the whole year, you know, and it's so sad to not be part of that. And that's why I started my community, to be honest, because I really, I already had some really good relationships, but I found that it's really hard to maintain them if you're not working with those people or connected every day. And LinkedIn is more of a like shouting into a vat situation. You know, there's a lot
Mm.
there. It's not really a community. So that's where community works for me. And it doesn't necessarily have to be your own community. I actually am part of, I think I'm part of like 20 different communities in different in levels of involvement. But
Yeah.
but that is where I live because I can't do this alone. It's too hard to do this alone.
If your friend wanted to become a freelancer, what are top 3 things you'd advise them to consider before doing it?
Hmm. This is interesting. I would the first thing is like, what are the risks of staying in your current job, right? Like, for me, that's actually the scariest part is like a lot of people think having a salary is more secure at the end of the day. Um, and especially in like climates like this, you never know when you're going to lose your job. The security isn't actually real. And so what I actually challenge people on first is to really consider like, what does security mean for you? Does security mean having money you don't care where it's coming from? Or does security mean knowing exactly where that money is coming from because you work to get that money in? Like that for me is way more secure than
Yeah.
working for a company who'd retrench me on a whim after they asked me to do this job, you know? So I would much rather develop a skill which I have now, which I can make money in any economy. Like you can throw me out now and into a shop and be like, go make money, and I'll figure out how to make money. But
Yeah.
that to me is way more secure. So first figure out, what does security mean to you? Because if security means you being in control, then freelancing might not be as scary as you think. The other thing I want you to like is important to consider is like really take a look at what area you want to freelance in. Like there's very low paid freelancing jobs out there and you can get a lot of really really hard manual like work that's like easy to get. It pays very little, but consider what value do you bring? What is it that people want from you? You know, I'm actually doing a talk on this soon about like, what side hustle do you start? You know, is like, what are you so excited about solving? Like, what, you know, if you do want to maybe start something small on the side, like start in your job currently, solve a small problem, see if you can sell that product. You know, one of my friends, he's a developer, and he, in his house, they have like this laundromat downstairs which accepted coins, and he was livid because who carries coins? Like no one carries coins in South Africa anyway. And so he's a developer, and he built an app which integrates so that people can do QR payments for his little home, his little apartment's laundromat. And now he's going around and he's selling that solution to other apartments. So you can make money just solving things in your own little world, and it doesn't require having to fully commit to freelancing, you know. But learning how to make money, that is the real value in freelancing, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I feel like totally to your point that some people who are working full time, they think that, oh, I have a secure job, but you don't have anything secured at the moment because at 1 second something changes in the economy, something changes in the company, management changes, and you don't have your secure job. And like, what do? You have this specific set of skills you don't know how to apply to any like real life settings. And yeah, being a freelancer is hard, but sorry, like the life is hard, you know, like people are not becoming who they are from very scratch. Like when you are just born, you don't know how to walk even. So yeah.
You know, I saw a thing on Instagram that basically said, you choose your hard. Everything is hard. You know, exercise is really hard. Being unhealthy and overweight and not able to, you know, live to your fullest, that is hard. You've got to choose your hard. Like, by taking a salary, you have to realize that you are committing to a single skill set, and that is where you're investing all your skill points, my friend. Like, you don't actually even know how much your skills are valued at, because your company just tells you what they're going to pay you. They sell your services for a totally different price, so you don't even really get a good idea of how much your value is worth. And I think that's what people in corporate, or what I struggled with, is that I would say, like, this is all the value I'm giving. And they would say that is worth this much. And I would say, but what if I do more value? Then they'd say that's not worth anything more. And it's very hard to, as a human, like, especially if work is very important to you and you get, like, you spend most of your time doing it, you know, you may as well do something that is, you understand what your worth is, you understand where you fit in the world. And it's just such a more active way, and in my opinion, more in control, more safe way to cement yourself. And why build someone else's empire when you can build your own? Like,
yeah. You know, I wish to have the sky is the limit, but time is the limit. So the final question, if you were starting freelancing today, what is one thing you would have done differently?
I would pick one tool that I loved from the beginning, and I would become an expert at that thing. And I would get in that company's community, and I would make sure everybody knows I'm expert at that thing. That is the easiest way, in my opinion, to become a freelancer, because the company starts promoting you because you convince people to use their product. So that is, in my opinion, the easiest way into freelancing. If you like design, go to Canva. If you like editing, ask Descript. I don't know, you know, video editing. So find a tool in your profession. And I eventually did this. I did this with Circle, which is why I know it works.
And with Notion.
And with Notion now, that is my new goal. But I would 100% find that one thing that is not like, and you don't have to become known for that thing. Like, I'm not necessarily known for Notion or Circle, but I want to become known for building community systems, so both of those integrate very nicely, you know. And then it solves your problem of finding leads, which is the most painful to most people, and that's why it's not a problem for me, I think, is because I solved that.
Got it. Candice, thank you so much for such an open and insightful conversation. And even though we were talking about challenges, I feel like you gave already so many great ideas on how to overcome them. So I feel like everyone who will listen to this conversation are like, wait a second, where are the challenges? Where are the challenges? There's like just actionable steps. Where are the challenges? So yeah, thank you so much for having this conversation.
Thank you so much, Yuri. I appreciate it. This is actually like, it was great. I was nervous not knowing what all the questions are going to be, but I'm very comfortable being vulnerable, especially about consulting. So thank you for having me. It's been lovely to be here.
Thank you very much. And thank you so much for listening. If you liked the show, hit the like button on 5 stars and share it with your friend. That's it. We're done. See you in the next episode.